All right, let's continue with our book, Howliday Inn. Chapter 2, Welcome to Howliday Inn. There was something about Chateau Bow Wow that made me uncomfortable from the moment I saw it. Sitting alone on the top of a hill, it inspired a feeling of desolation. Of course, the bumpy ride up the long, winding country road that led to it inspired a feeling of upset tummy. But that's another story. "Where are we?" I asked in a hushed whisper. I had never seen this part of town before. "No man's land," Chester growled reassuringly from the bottom of his box. A second low rumble of thunder resounded in the distance, and then as we pulled into the driveway, I became aware of another sound. "Do you hear all that barking?" I asked Chester, and a chill went through me. Together we listened for a moment. Then Chester spoke. No doubt the victims of some fiendish laboratory experiment. I gulped. "Well, this is the place," Mr. Monroe called back cheerily from the front seat as he brought the car to a halt. "You two stay put. We'll be right back." And all the Monroes went off through a door marked office to do whatever it is people do in offices. Not to mince words, I was petrified. Where were the Monroes leaving us anyway? Boy, I thought you trust some people, you give them the best years of your life, and what does it get you? Abandonment and despair. A fine kettle of fish, that's what I had to say. I looked around after a moment. The place didn't seem quite so bad close up. I suppose it was the sight that helped most. The sign said on the gate, "Behind the house," and when I saw it, I began to feel better. It read, "Chateau Bow Wow, a special boarding house for special cats and dogs." "Look, Chester," I said to the box sitting beside me. "There's a sign on the gate over there. You know what it says?" "I give up," Chester replied. "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." I squinted my eyes to see if I could make out any fine print. "No," I answered after looking carefully, "but it says we're special." "Huh," Chester grunted. "And here's something you'll appreciate," I added, hoping this might cheer him up a little bit. "It also says cats and dogs. You see, this place is for cats too. And the sign even puts cats first. Isn't that nice, Chester?" Chester raised his head to window level and looked out at the sign. He didn't change his grumpy expression a bit as he said to me, "They probably did it alphabetically." Then he dropped out of sight again. Just then the front door of the office opened and Toby came running out. "Here they are," he called to the strange-looking chap who lopped along slowly behind him. This fellow, whoever he was older than Toby and Pete, but not as old as Mr. and Mrs. Monroe. Having seen some of Mr. Monroe's college students when they come to the house to beg for mercy, I estimated that this new chap was roughly their age. He had a shag of brown hair that kept falling into his eyes, and a t-shirt that spilled out over the top of his pants. His sneakers were untied, and as he was coming towards us, he stepped on one of the laces and almost fell on his face. Toby opened Chester's carrier and pulled the reluctant cat out. Chester hung from Toby's arms like Spanish moss and wore an expression that would have soured milk chocolate. "This is Chester," Toby said by way of introduction. "Chester, this is Harrison." Chester turned to me with a smirk. "What am I supposed to do now?" he asked. "Curtsy?" Harrison, I thought. What a weird name for a person. "Hey there, Kitty," Harrison said, instantly not endearing himself to Chester. "And this," Toby went on, "is Harold." "Wow," Harrison said. "What a strange name for a dog." I looked at Harrison. Harrison looked at me. I thought to myself, this Harrison fellow really has a knack for putting the wrong foot forward. "Well," Harrison said, "you guys are the last of the arrivals for this week. Now we've got a full house." The door to the office popped open, and a girl with red hair and a lot of freckles stuck her head out. She seemed to be about the same age as Harrison, but she looked more tucked in. "Harrison," she called, "do you know where Chester's file is? Dr. Greenbrier wants to look at it while the Monroes are here, and I can't find it anywhere." "But you were looking at it this morning, Jill," Harrison said. I know," the girl named Jill said, shaking her head. "I just can't remember where I put it. I was hoping you'd seen it." Harrison shrugged his shoulders and smiled at Jill. "Wish I could help you out," he said, "but I don't pay much attention to the files. That's your territory." Jill sighed. "I don't know what's the matter with me lately. I'm so tired from all this work. I can't remember where I put things anymore." "I guess old age is setting in," Harrison said with a laugh. "Ha, ha," Jill answered without one, and she went back inside, letting the door slam behind her. Chester gave me a look that said he was clearly unimpressed with the staff. The door opened a third time, and Dr. Greenbrier stepped outside with the rest of the Monroes. I became nervous at once. There's nothing like the sight of a white jacket with creepy little stains all over the front of it to get the old heart pumping. Dr. Greenbrier walked in our direction, his movements steady and unwavering. The light reflected strangely off his glasses so that it was hard to see what was going on under his thick, bushy eyebrows. When he spoke, his words came as slowly and evenly as his steps. "Hello, Chester. Hello, Harold," he said to us, as if he were sure. "Hello, Chester. Hello, Harold," he said to us both, as if he were not sure which of us was which. Chester was apparently as delighted to see Dr. Greenbrier as I was, since his response to the doctor's hello was to begin hissing and shedding hair frantically all over Toby. Dr. Greenbrier just smiled. Now, Chester, what's the matter? You're not afraid, are you?" I suppose his words should have been comforting, but I could feel myself beginning to shake. "You're both going to have a wonderful time here at Chateau Bow Wow while your family is away." "Aren't they, Harrison?" Harrison looked at Dr. Greenbrier as if he were crazy. The doctor turned back to us. "Harrison and Jill are going to take good care of you. There's nothing to worry about." Mrs. Monroe seemed a little uneasy. "Are you sure everything will be all right, doctor?" she asked. "I don't mean to question you, but—" "Everything will be just fine, Mrs. Monroe," he answered her. "Surely you don't question my staff?" Mrs. Monroe's eyes grew wide. No, of course not," she answered. "Harrison has worked for me for 3 summers now, and Jill is studying to be a veterinarian. I trust them both completely, as should you. But we thought you'd... Mr. Monroe started to speak, but was cut off by the doctor. Yes, I know, but I simply must take some time off. No one appreciates just how hard I work. His face took on a pained expression. This has been a difficult summer. I'll work myself into a collapse if I don't get away. He looked into Mrs. Monroe's eyes, and then his features relaxed. Anyway, he went on, it isn't as if I were going to be on the other side of the world. I'll be right here in town, just a phone call away, should any problems come up. I know you have very special pets here, and believe me, nothing is going to happen to them. Harrison snorted. This is a special pet? He asked, pointing to Chester. Chester, who had calmed down a bit, began hissing at Harrison. Oh, yes, Dr. Greenbrier replied seriously. Chester is a very special cat. Most unusual. Isn't that so, Mr. and Mrs. Monroe? Unusual. Mr. Monroe said, reflecting. I'd say that's just the word for Chester. Wouldn't you, dear? That's the word, all right, Mrs. Monroe agreed. And at that moment, Jill came through the gate marked Chateau Bow Wow. She tripped on a tree stump as she moved toward us. Chester dropped his head sadly. I heard him sigh. I assumed in resignation to his fate.